All righty, it's 9 o'clock somewhere, so we'll get started. I'll call the meeting to order this morning. Welcome to all that are here in the chambers and online. So we will rise as you're able, and we'll sing "O Canada."
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Yep. Councillor John, I believe you are teed up for the land acknowledgement, please.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. As we gather, we recognize and acknowledge the traditional keepers of this land with whom we share today. The Township of Southgate is a part of the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe, Six Nation of the Grand River, Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, Haudenosaunee, and the Saugeen Métis. The land that surrounds us is a part of who we are, as it reflects our histories. May we live in peace and friendship with all its diverse people. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan. Madam Clerk, is there anyone signed up for open forum?
None today, Mayor Milne.
Thank you. Is there any declaration? Oh, wait, we need to confirm the agenda. Someone, Jim, second by Jason. Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest related to any item on today's agenda? Not seeing any. If one should arise, you can declare it at any time in the meeting. Delegations and presentations. We have a presentation this morning from Canoe Procurement Group of Canada. I believe Sarah Hubble is, yes, there she is on the screen. Welcome, Sarah, and the floor is yours.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All right. I just want to make sure am I able to share my screen? Let's see here. Perfect. All right. Were we able to see the screen here? Share. Everyone can see that okay?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So I want to start by thanking council and the other individuals at the Township of Southgate for providing me with this opportunity to connect with you today. As Mr. Mayor alluded to, my name is Sarah Hubble. I am the Client Relations Manager for Canoe Procurement Group of Canada. I'm going to take you through a quick little overview of who we are, how we help our members across the country in their procurement needs, and then obviously we'll open up for any questions that council or anyone might have at the end. So Canoe is a Canadian not-for-profit government group buying organization. We started out in Western Canada back in 1936 and have slowly made our way across the country, offering our compliant standing offer contracts to hundreds, if not thousands, of members. Currently, we have closer to 6,000 members that operate coast to coast and leverage our contracts that are in place. Most of our members will fall in the MASH sectors, so municipal, academic, school, and healthcare. But we do also work with a lot of First Nations communities, airport authorities, really any public or nonprofit entity can become a member of Canoe and leverage our contracts to save some time and save some money, which we all like. We have two very strategic partnerships. First and foremost, our municipal association partnerships. We do not enter into a province or territory unless we have an established partnership with the municipal association there. Here in Ontario, we came in 2019. We partnered with AMO, or their business arm LAS, to further offer our contracts specifically in the municipal space. We also have a partnership with Sourcewell. They are a government group buying organization based out of the state of Minnesota. That partnership essentially works where we will co-post Sourcewell's RFPs across Canada to ensure compliancy with CFTA, CETA, but also jurisdictional trade agreements within a province or between other provinces. This also allows for Canadian manufacturers and corporate entities to see those opportunities, respond, and hopefully be awarded contracts as well. Canoe is not a bidding platform, and we're not a substitute for your procurement teams or your internal policies or processes when making purchases. We are simply another tool in the toolbox that your departments, that your team can use to help streamline that procurement compliantly. And like I said, save a little bit of time and save some money as well. This is just a quick snapshot of our reach. We are currently in every province and territory except Quebec. As I mentioned, we do not enter in unless we have a partnership with an association there. So slowly but surely, we are building that partnership in Quebec. But as you can see, we do have relationships and activity in every other province and territory coast to coast. This is also another quick snapshot I really like to show, especially when engaging with townships, municipalities, or cities. These are a lot of the other types of entities that are members with Canoe. So I always encourage you, if you have a school board or a health unit or even a library within your community, they are eligible to become a member and are able to use our contracts as well. So I've touched on this a little bit. We all like to hear that we can save money. Some of us might think it's too good to be true, but every little bit helps. So how we help with saving money is taking our aggregated buying power, so our 6,000 members across Canada, going out to market for heavy construction equipment, for various services, for various equipment, and getting preferred pricing from those suppliers for our members to then engage with. A key thing to note with our contracts is the pricing is ceiling and the discount is a starting discount. So you do have the ability within our contracts to negotiate further savings. Whether it's bulk savings or loyalty discounts, you have that ability to negotiate further with our suppliers. The other piece of saving money is the admin time. So it typically takes about 200 to 250 hours to run an RFP. Because Canoe has already done that on behalf of our members, you do get a lot of that time back, which then can be allocated to other tasks that your team needs to complete to help make the township run and support the community. We do issue our RFPs, as I mentioned, on behalf of our members. We post it on provincial and national platforms as well. So Canada Buys, we post our own on bids and tenders, but we do work with other provinces and our sister associations to post our RFPs. So from a compliancy standpoint, that box is checked. Our contract team also engages with a lot of suppliers to let them know of upcoming RFPs, because our goal is to have as many contract offerings with as many suppliers as possible. Obviously, top tier suppliers, we don't want anybody coming in and being awarded a contract that might not be able to have good opportunities with our members. But essentially, we award typically multiple contracts so that our members can get exactly what they need for their community. Additional value pieces. So I work with all of our members in Ontario and a select few out to Newfoundland. So I would be your main point of contact, helping you, make those purchases, answering questions that you have. We actually currently are nearing 500 awarded contracts. So we're constantly growing, and that growth comes from our members and them coming to us saying, we really need engineering services. We really need job order contracting. We really need this type of equipment. So our procurement team takes that insight back. We do some market research and we eventually will go out to market for those requests from our members. So then our members coast to coast have access to those types of contracts. Another really key important piece with our contracts is they are awarded to the manufacturers or the corporate entities. And the reason that is the case is because we are national. Dealer networks coast to coast are going to change from province to province and even within a province. However, through our contracts with the OEMs and corporate entities, they allow their approved local dealers to purchase, to sell through that contract. So if you're looking for a piece of equipment and it's yellow, it's red, it's green, you are going to be buying from whoever that approved local dealer is closest to your township. So keeping that money within the community or as close to the community as possible, which is a huge benefit from obviously supporting the community standpoint, but also service and other levers that might be important to you. Canoe is free for our members and there's no minimum purchasing requirements. So I'm sure this question will come up, so I'll try and answer it now. How we keep our lights on as a nonprofit is every single one of our suppliers at the time of their response to our RFPs and contract award have to agree to administration fee that they have to pay on every sale that they do through their contract. Sometimes it's a percentage, sometimes it's a flat rate. A portion of that fee, when they make a sale in Ontario, goes to Canoe to keep our lights on. And we also give a portion of that back to the municipal association within the province, and they will use that for advocacy work and other things to support communities within the province. So that's how we can make membership free for our members, and suppliers are more than happy to pay that fee because they are having standing offer contracts that they can then, promote with their sales teams and build those relationships with their customers. Also, through our contracts, to request pricing or do cost analysis is free. We have a lot of members who really like this in order to build their budgets out. So you can go to our suppliers, request pricing through their contract to help plan and build those budgets for upcoming years. So that's a really big bonus that our members really like. Already touched on this a little bit as well, but just so it's here on the screen, we do follow the Canadian Free Trade Agreement as well as the Comprehensive Economic Trade Agreement. So those are the two trade agreements we follow. We're fully compliant with them. We're also compliant with any jurisdictional provincial trade agreements as well. We have an open website where we post our RFPs, our master agreements, and our evaluation summary. So anyone on council, anyone within the community, any non-awarded suppliers can actually go to our website, view these documents, open them, download them, anything like that. So from a transparent standpoint, we are very transparent in that respect. If you're looking for other documents to support that full RFP, we can definitely provide those to you. What we recommend for our members is that your policies or that your bylaws have some type of cooperative purchasing language in there. We do have tools and resources to share with you if those are some things that you need to update. And lastly, for our members is the notice of participation. So Chapter 5, Clause 7 requires that any public or not-for-profit entity post a notice when they're using any group purchasing or group buying organization. So again, we have the supporting documentation to show you what you should be posting. So we try and work with you to make sure these things are complete before you start to make purchases, just so that you're fully compliant with the trade agreements. And this is just a quick summary of all the content I just went through. So keeping in mind that we don't skip any steps, Canoe completes that full traditional procurement process on behalf of our members. And now you, as a member of a cooperative such as Canoe, can typically whittle down your steps to this golden pathway. You may want to add in a step or two just based on your policies, which you're absolutely able to do. But the key piece here is that time savings. So this kind of summarizes all of those points into a nice little diagram for everyone. And then I did want to do a quick breakdown just in your area and for the province alone. So right now, 90% of all Ontario municipalities are signed up as a member of Canoe, 60% post-secondary, and 30% of the school boards. And just in Grey County alone, you can see the list of communities that are a part of Canoe and have been leveraging our contracts for a while. And I will end with that and open it up if there's any questions.
Thank you, sir. Good presentation.
Thank you.
Any questions from council? Martin, please.
Martin, thank you for that. You, just a comment, you did answer that question. That was the first thing that I had in my mind, being a member, and user fees are free and all that stuff. So thank you for that question, because I was definitely going to ask that. But it brought up one, you said flat rate or commission. Who decides that? The company or you or the township or?
No, so our contracts, when you go to activate or use them, they're already in place with terms and conditions and pricing. So in our RFPs, we ask suppliers to submit what they think is a fair administration fee. We obviously work with them. So for example, with our fire apparatuses, some of them pay $1,500 on $1 million fire truck, and that's their admin fee. So we are very flexible. Some suppliers, it's a 2% admin fee. So it just depends on what they submit. Now we've obviously had some submit 0% and we said, try again. So that's typically how it works.
Great, thank you.
All right. Monica, please.
Thank you and good morning, everyone. Just through you, Chair, to Sarah Hubble. Nice to see you again. I believe we may have met at
Yes.
conferences, right?
Yes.
And I told you how much I love your little treats or those things that you give
Yes.
out. You guys have like some of the best. So thank you for your presentation. And just I'm not sure if this question is for you or for staff. Would this service be primarily for specific purchases, or would this be used broadly throughout the different departments in purchasing items?
Taylor, you want to have a go at that?
Good morning through you, Mr. Mayor. I do have a report after this presentation. We were originally going to bring it forward just specifically for roads, but then we thought better of it that more departments could probably use the functions of Canoe, given its scope and reach across the country. So that's coming.
And
And
if I may, through you, Mr. Mayor, sorry, Monica,
Mhm.
Canoe is here as a tool for you. It's not going to be for every single purchase. The nice thing is you can look at our contracts, get pricing, and if your departments decide, you know what, I think it's better if we go to market for this, you have that flexibility to do that as well.
Perfect. Just a quick follow-up, Chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Just to that point, and thank you to Treasurer for the mentioning that come up. Just for clarity, I saw the 1 to 10 and some were orange and white, and one was like, bid opening and bid tender. Just wondering, will there be an opportunity to, if needed, to compare different tenders to just ensure that residents are receiving the best value?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So if you go, for example, into our heavy construction equipment program, every single standing offer contract, every single supplier has responded to the exact same RFP. We do solution-based RFPs, which allows suppliers to provide their entire catalog of offerings. Then that allows you as a member to go to 1 or 2 suppliers with your specific specs and get pricing through that standing offer contract. What we encourage our members to always do first, and obviously this does fall back to your policies as well. If you are looking to standardize, whether it's fire, whether it's your plow trucks, whether it's any type of equipment, if you're looking to standardize, keep that in mind when you're going to reach out for a purchase. If your entire fleet of something is yellow and you're asking red and green to provide pricing, you're getting away from that standardization piece because you've awarded to the yellow supplier before, right? There's obviously the spare parts, the serviceability, your team knows how to operate, they know how to fix that piece of equipment, which is why you might be standardizing. So every purchase is going to be a little different. If you're standardizing, you may just go to one supplier. And that's where the piece of being able to negotiate deeper discounts and savings is in your corner as well. We're getting that preferred pricing based on, for some of those contracts with Sourcewell's membership, 60,000 members, and a discount structure based on 60,000 members. So that's where everyone, whether it's City of Toronto or Southgate, are starting off at with that list pricing and discount. Now, if City of Toronto is getting 10 units, they're going to get a bulk discount, right? Let's say you guys are standardizing and your fleet's yellow, you may get a loyalty discount on top of that Canoe contract pricing and discount. So the pricing is based on a very large group, but you are able to get further savings, and you're not just going in as yourself as you would with your one RFP. You're getting that pricing based on a group of entities.
It's very helpful. Thank you.
For sure.
Thank you. Barb?
Thank you, through you, and good morning, everyone. Thank you, Sarah. Being on the AMO board, I'm familiar with LAS and Canoe, and it's a great service. I wanted to expand on the question about bid evaluation and award. The fact that Canoe has sourced the quotes on our behalf does it remove our ability to evaluate those tenders locally, like through our Public Works Department or Treasury, and the final decision of the award is council's?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So we've received that list pricing for suppliers' entire catalogs of what they're offering through the standing offer contract. Whatever your policy states, whether it's council has to approve those purchases, that still does not change. You now just are able to go to these standing offer contracts, select the supplier or the suppliers you want pricing from, and then when your departments come back with that quote or multiple quotes, How they evaluate who they want to proceed with is completely up to your internal policies and procedures. One purchase may be based on delivery, right? We need this in 3 months, and this is the only supplier that can get it to us in 3 months. Obviously, price is a lever that everyone is very considerate of. Sometimes we have our members actually invite the suppliers to bring equipment to site for the end user to test out. So you will still follow your own internal policies and procedures. Just know that these contracts are fully compliant standing offer contracts. And as I mentioned, make sure when you're doing each purchase, if you are standardizing, keep that in mind. If you don't have a specific brand and you're not standardizing, you can reach out to multiple and do a second review of who you want to award to.
Thank you. Just follow up.
Yep, go ahead.
So that's great. Basically, Canoe is a one-stop shop for getting information and reach to other suppliers, but it doesn't eliminate our ability to source local.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, through our contracts, it will be your best chance of keeping and awarding local. When you go out to market yourself, the CFTA has a language in it where you cannot award more points to someone because they're local. That is called discrimination in the CFTA. So let's say you're going out for lawnmowers and someone 3 hours away, your lever is lowest price, they're the lowest price, even though you have someone right down the road. You have to award to that lowest price if that's what your evaluation criteria is giving you, and they're 3 hours away. Through Canoe, because they are manufacturer corporate contracts, you're making that purchase from whoever is the approved local dealer closest to your township. So it's more of a guarantee through GPO contracts like Canoe that you're going to be able to purchase locally versus if you go out to market.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right. Well, I need a mover and a second to receive your report. Barb will move that. Martin will second. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you so much, Sarah. That was a great presentation.
Thank
I'm
you
sure
all.
I will talk more in the future, I'm sure.
Sounds great. Thank you all. Have a wonderful week.
You bet. Take care. All righty, we have another presentation here from the fine folks from Grey County. This time I'll do it the way clerk likes me to. I'll ask the resolution first. Someone care to move, receive? Jim, seconded by Martin. Thank you. Randy, Mr. Schertzer, welcome. And the floor is yours, sir.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mayor and members of council for including this matter on your agenda today. So my name is Randy Schertzer. I'm the CEO for Grey County. Joining me today is Pat Hoy, our Director of Transportation Services, as well as Trevor Ireton, our Construction Manager. We're here today to provide an update on the road transfers project, highlight next steps, as well as to answer any questions you may have with respect to this particular project. If the chair is agreeable, we'd recommend that we walk through the full presentation and then open up for questions at the end, just because there may be some questions that you may have top of mind. We may cover that and address that as we go through the presentation. So we'll, if it's okay with the chair, we'll have questions towards the end.
Absolutely.
So today's presentation is to provide a clear, practical information to council about the proposed road transfers that affect the township. We're going to cover the why behind the project, the principles that were used to determine what should be transferred, the progress made to date, the funding model, the transition work that still needs to occur, including working out some of those details with the municipalities, and talking about the proposed transfer dates. Let's see if I can navigate. Oh, great. So the goal of this project is improving the overall Grey County road network, and more specifically, addressing the competing roles and functions of county roads within urban areas. As identified by the most recent Transportation Master Plan and the actions that were previously approved by County Council, and those have been now incorporated into the county official plan, a task force was established to review the county road network with a focus on improving the system, including how roads function inside settlement areas. The review resulted in 2 core network improvement principles. First, that roads serving through traffic and regional roads should be transferred to the county, and we refer to those as the uploads. And roads serving primarily a local function should be transferred to the local municipality. And we refer to those as to the downloads. The key message is simple: aligning roads with their intended function. So the right road with the right owner. And I just want to emphasize, this isn't a new concept created in isolation. This is a county-wide, multi-year initiative that's been reviewed publicly, repeatedly, and in partnership with member municipalities back through the Transportation Master Plan, which is about 10 years ago. The county official plan review process was about 5 years ago, and ultimately culminating through the task force process over the last 2 to 3 years. So this slide reinforces the why in one line. We're aligning road ownership with the intended function of the road. In practice, that means putting local roads under local control, where community-specific decisions can be made quickly and clearly, and ensuring the county network focuses on regional connectivity and through movement across Grey County. So Grey County maintains a network of about 870 kilometers of roads. 85% of that is what we call rural sections of roads. The remainder is urban and semi-urban roads. In urban settings, Grey County often maintains what we call curb to curb, while the local municipality maintains the underground infrastructure, things like water mains and sewer mains, as well as some of the above ground infrastructure like sidewalks and street lighting. That split responsibility requires ongoing coordination of operations, budgets, and capital plans. The challenge is that when two tiers are responsible for different parts of the same road section, it can create duplication and delays, and it becomes harder for either tier to operate efficiently. It also creates public confusion about who is responsible for what, and it can constrain local councils in the areas that residents most often expect them to make decisions on, things like speed limits, parking bylaws, and other community level traffic and curbside decisions. The county's priority is maintaining its road network, is keeping that connectivity between communities via regional and provincial corridors. At times, that focus can conflict with member municipal priorities. And because municipalities are being responsive to local community needs, supporting local economic development, and coordinating road corridors with service-related infrastructure like the water mains and sewer mains, as I mentioned earlier. Appropriate road authority provides the local municipality with greater flexibility and ability to meet local needs in areas such as construction coordination, entrance permits, utility placement, pedestrians and cyclists, local maintenance in summer and winter, right-of-way issues, speed limits, and parking. The project is designed to improve those outcomes by reducing overlap and aligning authority with function. So this slide summarizes the benefits that come with local management of road sections within settlement areas. We think it will lead to a timely response to issues, a better understanding of local needs, stronger community engagement, more cost-effective budgeting for local priorities, adaptability to local conditions, and greater accountability. When one level of government has clear responsibility for the corridor, it becomes easier to plan, budget, and deliver that work. And residents have a clear line of sight of who is accountable. So in summary, maintaining local roads offers a range of benefits, from increased responsiveness to community needs to more efficient budgeting and reduced economic impacts within the community. Local control also allows municipalities to choose how best to approach road maintenance in a way that reflects the unique needs and characteristics of each community, including in this case, the settlement area of Dundalk. On the rural side, we've seen that some rural roads now have higher volumes and are increasingly used as bypass routes. Higher volumes and different driver habits, including heavy goods traffic, can require different levels of service. And in those cases, adding strategic rural roads to the regional network can provide county-wide benefits. It can support trucking routes around communities. It can support tourism traffic flow. It can take non-local traffic off local roads, and it supports the efficient movement of goods across the county. In some cases, local municipalities may not always have the same resources to manage higher volume regional roads, and those resources often exist at the county level. So again, this slide reinforces that aligning strategic rural roads with the county network improves that regional connectivity. The intent is to ensure the county road network performs as a connected regional system, while local municipal systems remain focused on serving local traffic patterns, local land uses, and local community priorities. The road transfer approach in both urban and rural contexts is guided by a set of principles. Again, aligning road control and authority with the appropriate road authority, empowering member municipalities to respond to local priorities, reducing duplication and using tax dollars more efficiently, ensuring funding follows the roads, and supporting sustainable maintenance and service levels over time. This is what I will call funds follow function principle is important. The county is proposing transition funding that is tied to the proportional asset values being transferred. And we'll get into that a little bit later in the presentation. So this begins the map section of the presentation, showing the proposed road transfers, in this case in the township of Southgate. The maps are included so that council and the public can clearly see what segments are proposed and where the limits are. So for Southgate, the urban road proposed for transfer is located within the settlement area of Dundalk and is a section of Grey Road 9 between, better known as Main Street, which is shown on the screen in the presentation. This section of road runs from the southwest settlement boundary, located about 322 meters south of Ida Street, and runs 2.7 kilometers to Highway 10. This road segment functions within the settlement area and interfaces directly with some of that municipal infrastructure, as I mentioned earlier, things like the water mains and sewer mains that flow underneath that road, which is why it's proposed for local ownership under that right road, right owner approach. The next two maps show the proposed road exchange for a section of Grey Road 14 that would be transferred to Southgate in exchange for a section of Side Road 11 that would be uploaded to the county. So this map on the screen shows the section of Grey Road 14 that would be transferred to Southgate and runs from Southgate Side Road 11 for 8.2 kilometers to Highway 89, sorry. This map shows a section of Side Road 11 that would be uploaded to Grey County and would become part of Grey Road 14. And that exists directly north of this section of road. This road section runs from Southgate Road 8 and runs 4.1 kilometers to Highway 89. This section of road was identified as part of that transportation master plan, which again was incorporated into the county official plan. And this is a road that was identified that would be an improvement to the overall regional road network, which is why it's recommended as part of the road exchange. So a portion of Grey Road 9 in Dundalk and a portion of the Grey Road 14 road, and I'll just go back to that, so that north section as it gets to the bend is scheduled for construction this year. And therefore the proposed transfer dates for the sections of road within Southgate are slated for October 29th of this year once that construction has been completed. So the Roads Exchange Task Force was formed in February 2023 and includes representation from all 9 member municipalities. There have been 8 open meetings with minutes reviewed publicly through Committee of the Whole and then approved by Council. Combined, there have been 24 council meetings over the past 4 years where road exchange work was discussed. In addition to formal meetings, staff have met with municipal staff to discuss exchanges. We're in the process of negotiating maintenance contracts where needed and sharing details of the funding model. Public engagement has also been a key component of the work. In 2025, staff hosted a series of public open houses on the road exchanges. Transportation staff hosted 7 drop-in public information sessions and received feedback from attendees. Some of the questions that were raised were with respect to road name changes, road maintenance, and future road reconstruction. Sorry. Letters were also sent to residents whose addresses would be changed, inviting questions and participation in those open houses. And information was also promoted online and through local media. The county has also maintained a dedicated webpage with details that have been updated on a regular basis. Public comment form is included within that webpage where members of the public were able to provide comments regarding the road transfers. Now you have to bear with me because I'm going to go into some of the financial model, and it is a bit complex. So I'll try to walk through it as best I can. I'm not a financial expert by any means, but I'll try and do my best. I've got other folks behind me here who can help correct me if I stumble through some of these slides. So this slide provides context for the asset management reality that all municipalities face across Ontario, and provides some content into how the financial models were derived to ensure that the funds follow the function of the road. And the funds that would be provided to the local municipalities associated with the urban road sections that would be transferred to the municipalities. So to start at a high level, the county again has approximately 870 kilometers of roads. And those road assets have an estimated replacement value of $1.36 billion. So if we had to replace all those roads today, it would cost the county approximately $1.36 billion to replace all those county road assets. In 2026, the county has approved a capital roads budget of approximately $22 million, and that translates into the county reinvesting approximately 2% of the overall asset replacement value back into the roads. What that translates into is that for every dollar replacement value, the county spends roughly 2 cents annually on average, meaning replacement cycles can extend 50 to 60 plus years. And that makes sense because there's certain sections or certain assets associated with roads that are replaced prior to 50, 60 years. Some things like bridges, the road base itself usually lasts longer than 60 plus years. And so on average, the asset replacement value isn't around that 50 to 60 plus years. Again, overall, municipalities are underfunded when it comes to where they are with that infrastructure gap on an asset management basis. And this isn't unique to Grey County. It's the core challenge of municipal infrastructure funding across Ontario. In that overall, most municipalities do not have sufficient funds based on their overall assets they own and maintain. This context matters because the transition funding model is built around what the county actually invests, not an idealized fully funded model. So Grey County's 10-year transportation capital program is designed to meet available funds. And so we adjust our capital projects and priorities based on the available funds that have been allocated. So asset management planning principles are used to prioritize projects and establish a list of works or those projects. And over the 10-year capital program, we try to complete as many of those projects as possible based on the priority of the projects as it relates to those conditions of those, in this case, road sections. Estimates are developed and those get better with increased confidence as projects move through the cycle of that capital program. And the 1 to 3 year horizon, we're probably fairly confident that those projects will need to proceed within that 1 to 3 year period. Capital projects beyond that 3 year horizon are typically subject to change in both cost estimates as well as when those projects will actually occur. Projects proceed based on annual capital allocations in each year, and council establishes the available budget each year through the budget cycle. So if we get more money, we can complete more capital projects. If we get less money approved, we'll be able to tackle less projects. So depending on the budget envelope dictates how many capital projects we'll be able to tackle in any given year. Where a project exceeds the budget envelope or where budgets are reduced, capital work projects are typically deferred. So this slide, and this is the best we could do and come up with, we call it a road snake, to try to identify what we're talking about when it comes to sharing a portion of what we would normally spend on the urban road sections that would be transferred to the municipalities. So we're giving up our share of the pie, so to speak, or in this case, the section of the road. So this slide speaks to a principle we know county councils focus on, which is fairness. Again, we are all funded on assets, and the county has worked out a formula based on an asset management replacement value, proportional to each municipality's roads that would be transferred. There would be a proportional share of capital associated with the 10-year capital plan. So this road snake diagram on the screen, again, is the best we could come up with to show that proportional share that we'd be providing to the municipalities. Again, the county's current capital budget is approximately $20 million. Of that 20 million, approximately 2 million would be the apportioned spend on urban roads in any given year. So the left side of that road snake diagram that you can see on the screen there shows the proportionate share of the overall underfunded amount that would be provided to the municipalities for their share of the urban roads to be transferred. The remaining 18 million portion would be used to look after the roads we'd be retaining as part of the county road system. The bend, I'll say, of the road snake, it's a little bit darker pink color there on the end. That is the approximate underfunded costs to upgrade the rural road sections that would be uploaded to the county. We don't know exactly what those improvements will cost. And following the transfers, we would do some further investigations and determine what those rural road upload costs would be. We would then incorporate those improvements as part of the overall capital program, and we anticipate those improvements would be funded over a long period of time. The remaining portion of the road snake, the lighter pink color, that continues off the diagram there, represents the overall underfunded portion of the county road assets. And we want to be candid. We know it isn't enough in the sense of closing that broader infrastructure gap, but the county is proposing and committed to transfer what the county has and what we would have spend as the apportioned spend on the urban roads that are being transferred. So use a pie analogy because I know the mayor likes pie. We're giving our smallest pie that we have, our portion that we would normally spend on urban roads, we'd be providing to municipalities. We know that that sliver of pie is not enough, but it's the fair apportioned share that we would normally allocate to urban road sections. This slide shows the funding sources that make up the county's annual capital budget. There are three main sources of funding that make up the approximately $20 million capital budget, including levy, which in 2026 makes up about $13 million. The Canadian Community Building Fund, formerly known as the Federal Gas Tax funding, which is about $3.3 million, as well as the Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund, which is about $3.8 million. For the most part, the capital funding sources have remained fairly stable over the past few years, and that provides a good level of certainty for the overall capital program. The current 2027 projection is projecting a roads capital budget of just over 22 million, based on a projected levy increase of 6.57%. If that capital funding increase in 2027 were to be approved by council, then the funding levels for the Urban Transition Fund would also increase. Again, this is because the Urban Transition Funding is tied to the proportional share of the overall capital budget. So it fluctuates based on the dollars and cents that we have in the overall capital budget. Again, we're giving our portion share of that. If that goes up, the municipalities get more. If that goes down, municipalities get a little bit less. This slide provides the replacement value context that, again, underpins the proportional approach and why the county is using a replacement value basis rather than trying to predict exact project level costs over a decade. Because again, those project costs can vary and they may be weighted disproportionately for each municipality. So looking at the overall replacement value of assets for the county, again, looking at the top of this table, you see the 870 kilometers of roads that the county owns. That's the 1.36 million replacement costs. Southgate's highlighted in red there. You can see their replacement cost for the proposed urban transfers is 8.6 million in terms of replacement value. That's a total of 2.73 kilometers of road. That breaks out into a percentage on the right-hand column of approximately 6% of the apportioned share of the urban roads that would be transferred to Southgate. So 6% of all the road sections that would be transferred from an urban section is Southgate's proportioned share. That translates into, you can see those same numbers at the top of the screen here. That 6.02% is at the top there for Southgate, highlighted in red there. And so when you look back at the 2027, again, we're estimating about a $2.3 million capital budget Again, that's the apportioned share for the urban roads. That translates into, in 2027, if that were to remain still true, approximately $142,000 transfer to the Township of Southgate as the apportioned share for that urban road section. That's the basis of the transition funding model in a nutshell. It's complex. We tried to walk through it the best I can. Again, I'm not a financial expert. If you have more questions on this, I'm sure Trevor and Pat can help me with respect to some of those questions as well. You'll see, and maybe it's cut off actually. Actually, I'll go back here. At the bottom right-hand corner of that screen, you can see that we've priced out per kilometer these sections of road. And you can see the urban sections are priced, the replacement value is higher. And that's because there's more complexity in those urban sections compared to a rural section. So you can see a replacement value on a per kilometer basis is $3.4 million approximately. So again, those per kilometer values is what's used to calculate the overall replacement cost that you see in that table. So I just wanted to highlight that. So as you can see in this table again, there's a slight increase you can see every year up till 2032, and I'll get to that in a second. And that increase is estimated based on 2% inflation, as well as 2.55%, which is the current percent increase that is included in the levy as the asset management top up. And that asset management top up is to try to close the gap on where we sit today from an asset funding perspective to where the county would like to be based on our asset management plan. So essentially 4.55% is added each year, compounded each year from 2027 and beyond. You can see though, there's some municipalities, including Southgate, when it gets to 2032, it starts to taper off. And going back to some discussions with the road task force that's been approved in principle by county council, is that for those municipalities that are just receiving urban road downloads, it was recommended by the road task force to create some level of fairness that they would not receive a taper off. So you can see in cases of Blue Mountains, Grey Highlands, Hanover, and Owen Sound, they are only receiving proposed downloads. There's no rural road exchanges for those municipalities. So recognizing that, again, to try to create some balance and a level of fairness, those municipalities where there's a bit of a rural exchange, the road task force recommended there be a tapering off for those municipalities that had that rural exchange. In this case, Southgate has that rural exchange, and therefore you see a bit of a taper off of that funding envelope starting in year 2032. The 2026 and the 2036 recognizes that if the transfer dates were to occur as proposed, which is currently July 6th for most, what I mentioned earlier, October 29th for Southgate, in Southgate's case, that's why you see the proportion share of that urban transition fund has been apportioned to, in this case, approximately 2 months of value for Southgate for November and December. That the rest of that year is built into 2036, so that a proportion share is picked back up in the last final year. That way is the 10-year commitment is kept whole for all municipalities. This slide just illustrates that if the funds, again, on the capital program were to increase beyond what's proposed and projected in 2027, there will be an increase again to the urban transition funding. If that were to be less than what's projected as the levy increase in 2027, there would be, the urban transition funds would decrease. So it's not a typo. We just picked Hanover as an example on all the slides that are presenting to the municipalities. This just shows what it would do on the Hanover urban transition funds if it were to increase at 1% or less than 1% of the projected levy increase. So in summary, regarding the proposed financial model, municipal funding amounts will change year to year. Those changes are driven by the Transportation Services capital budget that's approved each year as part of the county annual budget process. The annual road replacement funding is made up of 3 sources: levy, CCBF, and OCIF. So if the overall capital funding levels change, there's a corresponding impact on the municipal transition funding. And again, that 2036 funding is the balance of the prorated 2026 funding to make the 10 years of contribution whole. So that's the financial model. And I apologize that took a bit of time, but it's complex, and we want to make sure that every municipality understands what's behind that transition funding model. This slide provides a high-level timeline view of where we're at in the process and what are some of the next steps ahead. The task force approval of the transfer timelines, as well as the draft road transfer agreement template, occurred on February 5th. That motion went to County Committee of the Whole on February 12th, and the Committee of the Whole deferred the task force recommendations to the March 26th meeting in order to gather further input from local municipalities. So we're attending all 9 member municipal councils over the next few days, and we'll report back on anything that we hear back from those municipal discussions and conversations, and as part of the March 26th meeting. So again, if there's any further comments and questions that come out of this from either municipal staff or council, if we could receive that no later than March 18th, that'll give us 2 days at least to be able to incorporate that into the staff report and provide that to County Committee of the Whole. We have provided draft of the road transfer agreements to each municipality last week, and we're open to any comments and feedback and working with each municipality to further negotiate any of the terms and conditions outlined in that agreement, especially the schedules to the agreement. And we'll get into what the makeup of the agreement looks like. We anticipate that municipalities will review and provide any comments on those agreements between now and we're hoping May. From the task force recommendations, the task force recommended that the road transfer bylaws, be brought forward to County Council on May 14th for approval. And again, for the road transfers, with the majority being transferred on July 6th and the final transfers occurring on October 29th, following the completion of some of those construction projects, as I mentioned earlier. This just provides you the template agreement includes a bunch of legalese at the beginning portion of the agreement that's been shared with the municipalities. The main body sets out general transfer details that are consistent across each 9 municipalities. And then each agreement differs in the schedules. So Schedule A provides the description and legal details of the roads being transferred. Schedule B covers the financial arrangements. So some of those financial details that I walked through are in Schedule B. And Schedule C addresses winter maintenance provisions if previously requested by the municipality through those previous discussions. This slide speaks to the operational work that's required to make sure that the transition is smooth as possible, and it's heavily focused on resident support and engagement. So from the task force report, staff noted that the most important public safety activity is the road name sign changes, especially intersection signs. And those changes must take place on the transfer date to ensure emergency services can respond accurately. So countywide staff were reviewing the best way to implement approximately 130 intersection blade changes and 75 address blade changes. We also know this has a real impact for some property owners, and the task force report identifies approximately 300 address changes as part of the transition process. And that'll take at least a four-week process in order to move through those address changes. The county is committed in supporting residents and businesses who will see road names or address changes, including mailing affected properties with details, as well as providing concierge support services to complete those address change processes. This could include in-person assistance where required, as well as establishing a hotline number for residents with questions. We've also actively reached out to Election Ontario to minimize any challenges for municipal service teams in advance of the October municipal elections. Through those conversations, we think there's fairly easy approach for us to be able to ensure that those address changes get reflected, again, for those roads that are being transferred or proposed transferred on July 6th. Doesn't impact the roads in Southgate. This slide further highlights additional transition activities and reinforces that this is a multidisciplinary, multi-year implementation effort. There are notification requirements that we have to do, including MTO signage on highways to reflect new road names. We have to notify Bell 911, Canada Post, and MPAC. We have to plan for those intersection civic address sign replacements. We have to, in terms of all the historical information as it relates to the roads that we're going to be transferring, staff are already gathering some of that information to make sure that we can hand some of that information off. Any information that we have on any road section, we will be sharing with the municipalities, and we're hoping the same will be on the other side as well. And then there's the practical bylaw and operational work. So there's traffic bylaws that will need to be updated, speed zones and parking bylaws, franchise agreement updates for utilities, adopt a highway contracts, as well as some internal system changes that we'll need to make. Again, the proposed transfer date for most road transfers that are proposed in this program is Monday, July 6, 2026. There are specific exceptions to that. As noted, Southgate are those exceptions. Those will be transferred October 29th, 2026, following construction completion. So I'm almost done. To conclude, road exchanges are intended to better align road ownership with the intended function of roads. Urban transfers are intended to improve efficiency and responsiveness and local control. Rural transfers improve regional connectivity. We will support local municipalities with 10 years of urban transition funding, and we'll continue to work with your staff through the transition and working through those details of the road transfer agreements. And finally, Grey County is available to help those affected property owners with address changes and the administrative tasks that come with those changes. We are, of course, open to any further feedback that you and your council may have, as well as your staff may have, Mr. Mayor. And we're happy to work through those details as we move through this process. And we're happy to take any questions that council and staff may have.
Thank you, Randy. Yeah, it's a complex thing for sure, but you've done an admirable job of working through it. Thank you. Questions for Joan, go ahead.
Good morning, and thank you for that report. As you said, it was detailed, and the two things popped up in my head. The first one, you kind of answered part of it. I was going to ask you to elaborate more on the address changes and how that would affect Southgate, but you said it wouldn't much, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So a quick follow-up though.
Randy?
Financial implication is always the first thing that jumps into our head, especially for a small township like ours. So does that mean that the underfunded portion, Southgate will be required to come up with the necessary amount to fulfill the gaps, and the county will only be giving us their portion that they have now to support that? So we have to come up with the rest of the money to deal with that road?
Through you, Mayor, and thank you for that question. Going back to who is responsible for what currently in those urban road sections. So right now, Grey County is responsible for essentially the surface of the road, curb to curb, and any storm system pipes that may run and be part of the overall storm system, in this case, Dundalk. The township is already responsible for the other stuff, the water main, sewer main, sidewalks, street lighting, etc. Typically what we've seen in urban construction projects, those are the bulk of the costs already that rests with the township. The other costs are not as severe in some cases when you go to do a reconstruction or replacement cost. Hoping that through the Urban Transition Fund, that will be funds that will be provided so you can, and County Council and the Road Task Force has stated clearly that they don't want to apply any conditions to how these funds are used. It's up to each municipality in terms of how those funds are used. You could put those into reserve and build those funds up over time so that to plan for future capital improvements. You can use those funds to help with any ongoing maintenance costs as it relates to those road sections. Again, County Council and Road Task Force didn't want to put any stipulations with respect to those funds. Going back to our proportion share, yes, we recognize that it's in the overall infrastructure gap on an asset management basis. We already don't have enough funds to fund what we have. you're in a similar situation. We understand that and respect that. What county council has committed though is giving our proportion share of what we would typically spend on those urban road sections to municipalities. Again, those funds then can be used to plan accordingly for any future road construction or maintenance as it relates to those road sections. So you would do similar what we do with our capital projects. I'm assuming you would take a look at what you have budgeted, what priority projects you would have in any given year, and see what you can then tackle using the funds that are available to you in this case.
Thank you.
And the address changes and so on.
Yeah.
She had asked about that as well.
Yeah, so the address changes, we want to make sure that, and we heard this loudly and clearly through the public information sessions, concerns about the address changes, because it can be quite complex to go through that if you haven't gone through that in any given time. There are some things that are very easy to be able to move forward with those address changes. And again, we're committed to supporting residents and businesses through that address changes. Including if it requires going to door to door, we're willing to do that. Recognizing that in some cases, some residents may not have internet access, for example, or be able to access the internet. So we would be willing to walk and help them and support them through those address changes. And so that's what the county's committed to, is making sure that that's as smooth as possible for those address changes. We've already reached out to those individuals to let them know that there could be address changes in the future. And we will provide them with further information and those support services to make sure it's as smooth as possible.
Okay, Martin is next and then Barb.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. Good presentation, very complex, as Brian says, and it's simplified. And you did answer one of my questions about 2034, 2035, and you have inadvertently answered the other question about local control and this money for the 10 years. You just have stated it can go anywhere in the budget. It is not allocated to 11 or County Road 9. Correct. So the bridges, the two bridges there, they have that number of 72. So it's not just allocated to pavement, it's bridges, and basically John can do and council can put that money anywhere we want. I just wanted to confirm that if I heard it right.
That is,
thank you.
Through you, Mayor, that is correct. County Council and Road Task Force want to make sure that there be no stipulations or conditions as related to those urban roads transition funds. We want to make sure that the municipalities use those funds in any way they see fit and what makes the most sense for their local priorities and their local needs, recognizing that, again, there's some level of impact that comes with some of these road transfers, but County Council was committed to making sure that they're supporting the member municipalities through those transition, through that 10-year funding model.
Okay. Thank you. Barb.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thanks to Mr. Hoy for responding to my initial question about the transfer payments and budget. Now, in the presentation, it says that if the budget approved by County Council goes up or down, it will affect the transfer payment, which means it includes levy dollars, which means aren't we just paying for the transfer? Indirectly, I mean, you're sending a portion of the funding that you receive from the province and tax funding, but the levy portion, if it goes up and down, are we not just paying into our own fund, our own transfer payment? I have other questions.
Through you, Mayor. Indirectly, I guess, yes, that is the case. County Council through the 2026 budget included some funding in this year's budget, anticipating that this urban transition funding model would be implemented at least partway through this year. And so that's incorporated into the current levy and the current proposed budget. Memory serves me right. I think 75% of those funds required for the overall transfer process was incorporated. 25% was funded from reserve. So the proposal would be to pick up that balance and whatever costs as it relates to the urban transition funding model in future future budgets as we move forward. And so yeah, so that's already somewhat incorporated or already embedded somewhat in the existing budget in order to support the urban transition funding model.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. And I mean, whether you're owning the road and resurfacing it when we do the construction, such as Main Street, that's levy dollars regardless. So if we were to put it into a reserve and hold on to it, what I fashion about the two roads that are being considered is that they're going to be virtually rebuilt. Gray Road 9 from Highway 10 to Ida will have been completed. So we're receiving an asset that has a longer lifespan. And those dollars that are being transferred could be put into a reserve for when, you know, we get into that 5-year, 6-year, 7-year mark. So thank you for that. With regard to address changes and the 300 residents affected, approximately 300 residents, because we're not privy to the responses received, did any of the residents respond, show up for any information sessions? Because I noted, I don't believe there's been one held locally.
Okay.
There was?
Yeah.
On
Frank Mack.
for this road exchange?
Yep.
Was that not the snowstorm?
It was a snowy night, but.
Oh, okay, all right.
We still held it.
You maybe didn't see the road.
Last summer. Oh, last summer. Okay.
Oh. Go ahead, Randy.
So through you, Mayor, with respect to the again back to the address changes, we did hear some comments from some folks that either attended the public information sessions or through some of the comments, just asking questions about what that address change looks like.
Great.
And again, that's where, in response to some of those comments we received, the county is committed to making sure we provide those support services so that we can help support residents and businesses through that transition. For the urban sections, for the most part, those addresses won't change. Already our county roads are what we call a secondary road. And so so if you're a Main Street address, for example, your address won't change. And so for the most of the urban roads sections, addresses won't be affected. There are some small sections in the urban roads that go extend outside of what I call the built up area that are addressed as a Grey County road. So we'll be working through again with those municipalities on those addresses. The rural roads are where there is probably the most impact from a address change perspective. And again, the county's committed to supporting that work.
And if I may,
Yep.
I think the fact that staff have developed this concierge service to help individuals through that process is tremendous. Do these affect deeds or, you know, land titles? Because I know that we still have, you know, part lot 6A of concession, and they don't even correspond to the actual street name, but I'm just wondering how, like, that's all included, you're incorporating that. We have a historic Southgate website, which could be affected through our economic development office. I guess, Southgate Road 11 is not currently built to a county standard. And when it transfers, we're transferring that as is.
Through you. So I'll answer the first part in terms of the legal pieces and the roads, the road ownership or the land ownership pieces. Again, I didn't mention this in my presentation, but the county is committed to helping to support that. We think that will require more than just this year to be able to work through some of those details. But the county is committed to helping to support any of the road land ownership pieces as it relates to that. In fact, we have additional legal supports to be able to help support that over the coming years, because we think it is the coming years. Because even the roads that we transferred back 20 years ago, there's still the land ownership pieces that pop up from time to time. But again, the county is committed to helping to support that. Back on the Side Road 11 piece and the roads that we're uploading, I'll say. We've done a high level review of what we anticipate might be the improvements. Again, we think that's going to be over a long period of time, but they would be transferred as is in their current condition to upload it to the county. And we'd be incorporating those as part of our capital program through future improvements, depending on the level of priority. We know there's certain improvements on other uploads, not Side Road 11, but some other road sections that we're going to have to tackle more immediately. And we will incorporate those again through our capital program and do those improvements over at least 10 plus years, if not more.
Jason.
Well, back to Bart's point, I'm happy that you guys are gonna spend the money on the roads before the transfer. I guess I'm a little leery. We represent Southgate. What is the advantage of South? Cause it seems to me like it's a typical download. In my math, we're taking on 6 kilometers and you guys are losing that. So to me, it's, yeah, I don't, what's the advantage of Southgate, I guess yeah.
Through you, Mayor. Thank you for that question. Going back to that right road, right owner approach, what we've seen in some cases where, especially in those urban road sections, we sometimes where a municipality may be looking at replacing a water main or sewer main, but the road surface is in good condition. And so the timing of some of these road projects gets misaligned, I'll say. So that's just one example of where we think having one ownership, and we think probably makes the most sense to be able to respond to local community needs is, in this case, local municipalities. So that's just one example of where we've seen some challenges in the past. And we, of course, try to work with the municipalities the best we can on those sections. But when we are only responsible for certain pieces of that road section and the municipalities are responsible for the other pieces, it can create some competing priorities from a capital replacement perspective, from a maintenance perspective. We often get requests for some municipalities to reduce speed limits. We try to, again, work with municipalities on those requests, but by having it under complete local control, we think that it allows for the municipalities then to respond to those local needs, what makes, in this case, the most sense for Dundalk as that community continues to grow and develop. You will be able to respond just similar to what you respond in your local roads today. You'll be able to make those decisions, entrance permits, other things like that. If you need to close a section of the road for a parade, you don't have to come to the county to have that permission, things like that, where just from an administrative perspective, we think those create some efficiencies and allow staff and councils to make decisions to respond to local needs.
Go ahead.
So I guess to that point, why not give us all the roads then and just give us the funding? If you wanted local decisions.
Oh, there's a tangent for you.
Well,
You're not
just
wrong.
the download, that's all.
Through you, Mayor, and I'll try to address that comment. What I can say is, again, that we're trying to look at the function of the road and what makes then the most sense from an ownership perspective. And where it's there's some road sections that are serving more of a regional connection function, we think it still makes sense to be a county road. As noted, we at the county, we have resources to be able to maintain those road sections on a 24/7 basis. We respect and understand some municipalities may not have the resources to be able to do that in all instances. So we think there's probably still some where it makes sense based on the function of the road to be with the right owner. And in this case, that's what's being proposed as part of these transfers and exchanges.
Sure. Yep.
14 and 8 at the 4-way stop. Will we be leaving that as a 4-way stop? I know there was some concern about that. That's a bad corner. So I was wondering if it's a county road, is it going to be straight through?
This is where I'll look to my transportation services colleagues.
You brought them along. You're right.
Through you, Mayor. It's something we can always look at. A lot of times, typically when you have a 4-way stop situation, similar to a 2-way stop, you don't try to make changes to those. It's more of a problem with a 2-way stop to a 4-way stop. A lot of times that promotes a lot of head-on collisions, especially in those first few months until people get used to it. But yeah, four-way stop to two-way stop. Similar situations happen where cars come up thinking they've got to stop and then they're slowing down. It creates a little indecision. So a lot of times you try to maintain the same sort of stop condition. However, it is something to look at, and whether that's providing street lighting or appropriate signage, and also once you get to I'll say a road cross section that's more obvious that this is the defined major route. Sometimes those can help to give those indicators to drivers that don't always happen, especially considering those roads are very similar in kind of cross sections right now. So I would think right now it probably stays as a four-way, but it could be dealt with in a future design.
Okay. Jim?
There we go. It's been a while. Question with 14 there, when we switch it, will it be still classified? Because it's by traffic volume, is it not, that the classification of road? And then, so that if it's still classified the same rate, that's extra plowing in that, especially after a winter like this year. So how will that come into play for the municipality? I've heard rumors that you guys might.
Through you, Mayor. For the basically that section of road, it will depend still on traffic count. However, what ends up happening is with the county road system, our plow routes basically go on the highest level of service on that route. So a lot of 14 will also include some of Gray Road 4, which probably drives our actual service level up. Whereas on Gray Road 14 currently, it actually is probably pretty low and could be a reduced level of service potentially. So it really just depends on the nature of your route and kind of how it fits into that system going forward.
Okay, yeah, just I have a feeling for a good while it's going to continue. A lot of people will use that as the main route. So.
Okay. Yeah, Randy?
Through you, Mayor. Yeah, we until the driver patterns change, which then feeds some algorithms for Google Maps and other things. What we find is that over time, once you put on those conditions, when you put in this proper signage, it will change. We will be notifying Google Maps and others about some of these changes as well. So that hopefully will help to drive some of those different pattern changes. But you're probably correct in that there will be still some volumes of traffic still using some of those old routes. But hopefully over time that will change. And Councillor Ferguson is correct in terms of, you know, it's based on, as Trevor noted, the volumes, the traffic volumes of road as it relates to minimum maintenance standards. So you'd still have to respond that way from a minimum maintenance standard perspective. But again, we're hoping over time those driver patterns will change as we make people aware of these changes.
Right. John, I don't want to put you on the spot, but would you like to make some comments, or maybe you have some questions?
Morning, everybody. Through the mayor. No, I don't really have any questions or comments right now. I have reached out to the maintenance manager for Grey County about a potential for a contract for maintenance on those 4 blocks of Grade Road 14 as well, just to see if that's a possibility, just to try and bridge that gap until the driver habits change, that they would switch over to doing that Grey Road 11. But other than that, I don't really have much else to.
Okay. You have a report coming up later in the meeting, and we can further talk about that. Monica, go ahead. Thanks, John.
Thank you, Chair. So yes, just thank you for the report, just through you, Chair. And definitely I was happy to see this report in the sense that we would be able to get things done a bit more quicker, because I know for some of the things that I have brought up in the past years was met with, well, this is a county road, this is not our road. So I think that's operational effectiveness. And just to Councillor Rice's point, I think that he has very sound points about, why don't we just have all of the roads then? But I do understand what you're saying as well with regards to, some things will require different things. The question that I would have would be, and I'm not sure if you already answered it, but in terms of, this might not be for you, maybe for our public works, but Do we know what the current conditions are for each of the roads that we will be taking over? And would there be an inherited deferred maintenance? And how much do we know that that would cost? And would the county be assisting if there is some significant maintenance that's required before we take those on?
Randy?
Through you, Mayor. So I know have provided information about the current condition of the assets that are proposed to be transferred to each municipality. So we have provide that information. If there's any questions that municipal staff have, we're obviously willing to have some further conversations with staff to make sure you're understanding what the current conditions of those assets are. And if you have any further questions or comments regarding those please send those through. And we're happy to have some further conversations with respect to that. Sorry, and the second question.
What was the second part of your question, Monica?
No, that was pretty much like I guess the main concern, and I'm happy to hear that our public works, John will be giving a report about it, but just if there is significant maintenance that is required on the roads we'll be taking on, do we know what the costs may look like? And if they are significant, then will there be a possibility for county to help?
Randy?
Through you, Mayor. So based on previous discussions that we've had with municipal staff through the course of this process, some have identified the continued need to maybe have the county continue to maintain these roads, especially from a winter maintenance perspective. So we've tried to incorporate that as part of the even draft road agreements that we've circulated to the municipalities last week. So that's one of those schedules. That's Schedule C, I think it is. Lays out some of the proposed maintenance arrangements. Again, we're happy to have further discussions with staff as it relates to those maintenance conditions and contracts. From a cost perspective, just to give you a sense, so in 2026 costs from a winter maintenance perspective, it's about $9,200 per kilometer for section of road for maintenance purposes. So it just gives you a sense of what, and again, we're just be charging the municipality on a cost recovery basis as it relates to that maintenance, if the municipality is interested in the county continue to maintain those sections.
Right. Barb, you had another question. Go ahead.
Thank you. And I think, I think when you're talking about maintenance, you're talking about snow removal.
Yeah.
And your level of standard at $9,000 per kilometer is 24/7, or however many times you have to go out. We do not have that same level of service. So for the county to drive through Dundalk, for instance, with the plow up, with the blade up, probably would irate residents what are they doing driving through? There's like a ton of snow, but that's where we're working with the Public Works to come up with an agreement that makes sense from a route also perspective. And since until we get the Eco Park bypass, the getting goods and people through Dundalk to Highway 10 is still a major corridor. So thank you for that, for elaborating. And I do note that Main Street is destined to be finished to IDA this year.
Okay.
There was an open house about that one in a snowstorm, but so we're going to be assuming a fairly updated road from a surface perspective, and and I appreciate that the county and our township always work together to schedule that. The one section that had to be delayed because we didn't get the funding for the pipes in the ground, and you were very cooperative. So, I think it worked well. And you are upgrading a section of County Road 14 on the curve, around the curve towards Con.
Yes.
So that will have been upgraded as well before we take on, which is why we're delayed until October.
Correct.
Correct. Okay. The only other question I have for now, I reserve the right, and I know where to find you.
Yes.
There has been reports in the news that some municipalities are not happy with the funding formula. If they push back hard enough for a bigger piece of the pie,
Mhm.
if the pie doesn't grow, what does that do for the rest of us who aren't as good at negotiating?
Through you, Mayor. So obviously, we're still having discussions and presentations with each of the councils. We'll be taking the feedback and the comments from each of those 9 member municipalities. Again, we're going to summarize that information, bring that back to county council for further discussion. It'll be ultimately up to county council in terms of how they want to respond or address those comments. With respect to, as you noted, some municipalities may feel that there's currently not enough funds that are being provided. Some of the questions we've heard are related to around things like development charges and some other pieces. So we're already investigating some of those things, and we'll be able to bring that information back to county council on March 26th, and to have some further options and discussions for council's consideration. Ultimately, it'll be up to county council in terms of how to address and to respond to those comments. And I don't want to guess in terms of what those decisions will be. That'll be up to council. Yeah.
I should think that if some municipalities choose not to participate, our share of the pie would get bigger. Just speculating. Any other questions from council? All right, well, I'll call the question. Are we prepared to receive the report? All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much, gentlemen. It's been most enlightening, and appreciate you showing up here this morning. It's a beautiful day for a drive from Owen Sound. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mayor Mill. I just wonder if council would be agreeable to put John's report next, just while the county's still here, in case there are further questions, if you have time.
Absolutely. It's up
It
to
would
you.
just be switching John's report for Taylor's first.
We can do that for sure. I do need to adopt the minutes so prior to doing that. So I'd entertain a motion. Martin, second, and seconded by Monica. Thank you. All those in favor? That is carried. Okay, now we'll move into reports to municipal officers, and if council does not object, John, you're okay with that? We'll put your report first. I know Taylor's always very agreeable to whatever we do, it seems like. All right, so the motion or the report there is from John regarding the county road transfers. Someone care to move that, please? Martin, seconded by Jim. John, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, sir. Through the mayor, this report is basically just a overview of what Randy just went through in a lot higher detail. Goes through the background. There was an open house held on May 21st of 2025 at the Frank McIntyre Building in Dundalk. Just to clarify that about the road exchanges. And to somewhat better answer a question before. So the 2 bridges that we'll be taking over currently have a BCI of 72, which is in the good range. So that shouldn't be meaning any maintenance or capital costs on us for quite a while. As mentioned, the two blocks of Gray Road 14 will be getting done this year as well. And the 2 blocks from Cedarville to Highway 89 currently have a pavement condition index of 95.95. So that's again on the higher range where it's still in good shape. So the summer maintenance on those sections shouldn't be a big deal. And again, it just lays out the work that capital projects that the county has done, including deck repairs to the one bridge on Gray Road 14. And that's pretty much it. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you, John. Are there any questions for John? Jason?
I'm going back to Jim's point with the minimum standards and stuff. So if, say we hire the county to plow it, we do the deal, we hire them. What kind of, like, insurance wise, they don't have to keep it as high a standard because it's now a township road. That's gonna be kind of tricky there, isn't it? Like, same with what Barb said. Maybe, I don't know, I wonder about insurance wise and stuff, like, if we don't have to maintain it as high as they do.
So through the mayor, so the class of road doesn't matter who the road owner is. It's based on the daily traffic. So in discussions with county staff last year, the 2 blocks from Highway 89 to the curve are currently a class 3 road. which is a much higher class than what ours are. Our highest class right now is class 4. And then the other 2 blocks to the 4-way stop are class 4 roads. So again, and that's where I want to investigate whether the county would be interested in doing the winter maintenance. As part of that, there would be, they would have to provide a certificate of insurance that they would take on the liability for the winter maintenance for that section of road. So that would put the onus on them to maintain to that level.
Yeah, go ahead.
Have we done a traffic count on 11? And have you guys done a traffic count on 14 at Cedarville area? Just, cause like to Jim's point, I know that road's a lot busier. They're both busy, but I don't know how you're gonna change people when they come up through Con there. It's gonna take a long time, I think.
You just give me 1 second. I'll bring up, there was a traffic count done on Side Road 11 this year with the, or in 2025 with the, road management study. So just let me bring that up here.
Randy, you want to speak to 14?
Through you, Mayor. We do have traffic counts. We don't have those on hand at the moment, but we're happy to provide those to through municipal staff so that you can have those. Yeah.
Thanks, Randy. John?
So during the traffic counts from 2025, Side Road 11 had 921 for an average daily traffic count, which is
So-
bordering it almost on that class 3 then as
I
well.
was just gonna ask, yeah, okay. All right, so it wouldn't take a lot of change in habits to push that over the 4.
No.
To push it up to the class 3 rather from 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, the lower the number, the higher the class. Yeah, okay. Barb, you have a question?
Thank you, and through you, and I mean, we've received the emails, the complaints that, stop signs are just a suggestion at that intersection, coming north from 89. I suspect that currently traffic coming from 89 from the east or coming north to hook into Gray Road 14, and the ones coming up from Arthur will continue to come to Jason Rice's point, will continue to come up through Cedarville, I suspect. But and then coming south, they'll just head right down to 89. Who knows? But Gray Road 14 from western limits of Cedarville to Highway 89 is slated for 2027. That was in the capital plan for the county. Is the cost for that been incorporated in the transfer that is being proposed? Or are we, assuming a road that, like that section of the road, one section is going to be updated this year, but the other section won't be done until 2027. On whose responsibility will that be if we assume that road in October?
John?
Well, and that was just what the county had slated. I'm not sure, maybe Trevor can answer better to that about their priorities for their roads, but as far as capital upgrades, but we haven't considered it in our 10-year plan. So that's something we would have to look at through the summer in preparation for the 2027 budget this fall, whether it warrants it or if I'm sure we have much tougher road sections that should be done sooner.
The volume of traffic on that road would probably determine too how soon it needs to be redone. If it doesn't stay a county road, it may not be needed to be done for 5 years instead of, in 2 years. Jim?
I'm just thinking, so I'm not saying I'd be in favor of it. We do have options though to bring that down a level of a service of a road by speed limits and that. Is that not correct?
We could, yeah, if we drop the speed limit to 70, that would be, I believe, or maybe 60. I'd have to double check on that, but yeah, there is possibilities to do it that way as well.
Not saying I'm in favor of that, but
I was
we do
gonna
have
say that
options.
that's not always a crowd pleaser either, but there are options. You're right. Yep. Okay, any other questions for John? Jim?
Good morning, good people. So one thing maybe Randy, can you touch on with the transition date being the end of October this year and the election and the process with getting bylaws through? Can you run through that? Because council would probably like to hear how that's going to pan out.
Through you, Mayor. So again, we're committed to working with municipal staff on what bylaws would be required to be changed both at the county level and the local municipal level. As noted, there'd be some probably in the urban sections, some parking bylaw changes, just incorporating some of those sections as part of your road network. So again, we're happy to help work with municipal staff and support some of those bylaw changes the best we can. The anticipated for the October 29th as it relates to that, majority hopefully of those bylaws will be updated between now and that time period, or at least be ready to go shortly thereafter in terms of changing some of those bylaws. And so again, we're committed to working with municipal staff with respect to those processes.
Jim?
Think maybe I'm referring a little bit more to the transfer agreement and when that has to be executed, maybe because it could come into that period if we don't get ahead of it. But I think it's going to be structured that it's effective this date, so it's passed earlier on, but it's not in effect till the October date.
Through you, Mayor. So again, because majority of the proposed transfers are July 6th, what we were suggesting for at least those road sections, if we can have any comments back from municipalities by early May with respect to those road transfers agreements, that'd be great. There's a bit more time in the case of Southgate because those road transfers are not happening until October 29th. So we do have a bit more flexibility in terms of time of when that actual road transfer agreement we need to be finalized and put in place. Technically, the bylaws can occur prior to the actual road transfer agreement, but I think in an ideal world, we would have the road transfer agreements all signed up prior to or in around the same time frame as the road transfer dates. And again, we're willing to work with the municipalities on any questions you may have with those road transfer agreements between now and those time periods, as I noted.
Thanks, Randy. Madam Clerk, do you want to jump in there?
I'm just concerned about lame duck, but I'm thinking, well, we can talk offline about that on that timing. We can work around it.
Yes.
If we're in it, it'll depend.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. So through our discussions with our legal staff, the restricted acts is not technically a barrier. But I agree. There's probably some dates that we want to try to hit to just avoid any of that potential confusion. So that's why for the July 6th date, we were proposing to bring our bylaws for the actual transfers, starting that process on May 14th for the July 6th date. And then that's part of that too, is because we need a 2-month window just to notify all those agencies and organizations, as we noted, plus to implement all those address changes as noted earlier as well. Again, we have a bit more time on the October 29th, but the clerk is correct. Restricted acts and election process adds a bit of a question mark with respect to that.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. Jim?
I just want to add too that we've already sent this through to legal review, and there has been some back and forth with John and I and our lawyer, and those questions will be coming with the agreement back to the county here shortly. It's nothing earth-shattering, that's for sure, but there are a few tweaks or a few answers we need from the county on the MOU. So
Very good. Very good. Okay, I'll call a question on the report. All those in favor? That is carried. So again, I want to thank our guests. Thank you, Randy, Trevor, and Pat. Thanks so much for coming today.
Thank you.
Have a safe journey home. Let's take a 5 minute, 5 second. How about a 5, maybe even 10-minute break? Let's recess. Okay, we are, we'll call the meeting back to order. We are now on the finance department. Lindsay or Taylor rather has a a tough crowd today. Taylor has a report regarding the procurement through the Canoe website. So Taylor, oh, I need a motion. Jim and Martin, thank you. Taylor, the floor is yours.
Great, thank you very much. So we had the presentation from Canoe this morning. Essentially, we started as looking at our 2026 budget and what we can do for the tendering process. We spoke to neighboring municipalities such as Grey Highlands and also Grey County, that they've done a similar program or relationship with Canoe, and they felt that they were getting better pricing than what they could if they dealt with the same dealer on their own versus through Canoe. So obviously we're looking for the best pricing for our dollars. So this is why we're kind of bringing this forward, which is out of line with our policy, as Sarah kind of stated. So we will need to bring an amendment to that policy forward. But we were hoping to put the tenders out for the equipment sooner than getting the policy updated. So this report is just asking that we can do that and use this program for that. And then we'll bring a policy amendment forward shortly.
Very good. Thank you, Taylor. Any questions from council? Martin?
Taylor, through the presentation, you mentioned that it'll go right across the board. So like for other departments, so it can be for computers, even though computers wouldn't be a big
I think
budget item, or
I think for computers would be pretty low, and we typically do that only through Infinity because there are other software provider. But it would definitely be like for things like rec, or if other departments are looking for kind of more specified equipment or anything like that. I think it's a good thing to look at, or we would still look at our other sources as well, but something to see what kind of pricing we can get.
okay, great.
Okay. Jim?
So just for clarification, they put it out in a mass group bid, but we're still where there'll be bids where smaller companies, because it kind of sounded like that gears more to the bigger corporation type ones. So you still want to have like local smaller ones that wouldn't maybe be into that still have a chance to bid in on
Yep,
stuff.
absolutely. We would still put it through our regular tender process. It would just be that they could be maybe more specific on what they could ask for, but we would still accept the tenders from anybody who put them forward.
Okay, any other questions? Barb?
Thank you. And through you, thank you for that, because kind of feed off of Jim's question about access to the tenders. And I noted that it will still show up as a link on our website that directs them to LAS, but that so they can still see the RFP. It's not eliminating an RFP process. It's still open, it's still transparent, but we just have a further reach. And I think that's where this is all going, and perhaps have access to better pricing, which could include local.
Yep, absolutely. That's kind of the benefit of this program, is it can go Canada wide. So, I mean, if there's not a producer or dealer in Ontario, we could reach other provinces through a greater scope. So,
yep, go ahead.
And I think that in a very simple terms, if we're looking for a fire truck or a gravel truck, and we can get it at a significant cost difference from Manitoba or Alberta, but we're likely not ordering paper from Staples in BC, kind of thing, right? Even though we are opening this up cross departmentally, it's still, we're still going to be using our common sense and sourcing where it makes sense to do so locally.
Yep. And on the note of paper, we have sourced cheaper paper locally.
Very good.
I try my best.
John?
Through the mayor, just to kind of answer to the local question that you're asking about there. So what it kind of does is kind of to backtrack a little bit, depending on how busy a dealership, say like a car dealership is, they'll have better buying power from their maker, right? So one Chevrolet dealership might move twice as many cars as another one. So they can actually buy their cars cheaper than the neighboring one that doesn't sell as many, right? So that passes on to the consumer. What this does is it's one price right from corporate, which will always be the cheapest price. And then they pass that to that maybe more local dealership that couldn't make that deal, but now can. If that.
Okay, any further questions? I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Taylor. Moving on to emergency services. We have a report here from the fire chief regarding fire dispatch contract renewal. Someone care to move that? Barb will move that. Jim will second. Good morning, Chief Malik. The floor is yours, sir.
Good morning, Mayor Milne and members of council. So this agreement is basically a renewal of a contract. Previous agreements were for 5 years. Myself as well as with the other chiefs of Grey County kind of sat down with Owen Sound and requested a longer term contract, as well as one of the things that we were very interested in specifically for Southgate was a different in fee model, where in the past it's always been updated per capita based off the census. We were able to get them to lock in the price based off the 2021 census for 10 years. My worry was based off all the development that's happened since 2021, our costs would significantly increase once that 2026 census data was available. But they have put in the contract that will be based off 2021 census for the 10 years, which is awesome. And it provides us significant savings. So I'll take any questions.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. Are there any questions? Not seeing any. I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thanks, Chief. Yeah, exactly. Planning Department, we have a zoning bylaw amendment here. Someone care to move it, please? Jason will move that. Joan will second. Victoria, floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. I'll jump right in. So they're seeking to rezone 112754 on Gray Road 14. Looking to permit the development of an agricultural use shown in attachment 1 of staff's report. They're also looking to confirm the location of the environmental protection zone as well, in accordance with the township zoning bylaw under section 2.10. They submitted an environmental impact study. The rezoning would also reduce an interior side yard to about 5 meters for a proposed farmhouse and reduce the required front yard to about 7 meters for an agricultural building, where the A1 zone requires a minimum 15-meter side yard and 40-meter minimum front yard. Just to summarize, back at the November 26th public planning meeting, council did note some outstanding comments from Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority and Grey County staff. SVCA initially recommended deferral pending further flood hazard assessment details, but have since confirmed the submitted materials were satisfactory, and they are supporting the revision to the EP zone as well. Grey County ecology staff also recommended some mitigation measures related to tree removal, water quality, drainage, and limiting the development envelope as well. They also provided some updated comments. County transportation included no concerns if septic tanks are located at least 23 meters from the center line of Gray Road 14. As well, the applicant's agent, which is linked in the report, submitted a response matrix where they've addressed agency comments. So just for some context, the lands have about 265 meters frontage on the west side of Gray Road 14. About over 800 meters depth and over 20 hectares, about 21 hectares lot area. Some topography, it's gently rolling, rises toward about the north or western half of the property, and the site is actually currently vacant. Consists mostly of heavily treed areas with a tributary of the Saugeen River, which passes from the north lot line to the southern lot line as well. You can see that on attachment 2. And as noted, the development envelope is constrained by natural heritage features. Some nearby lands are mainly agricultural. They have some associated on-farm diversified uses, heavily wooded naturalized areas as well. to the north and south of the site, and then there's farms in all directions of the site as well. Swinton Park is to the northwest, and then we have Hopeville to the south. And there's also a new entrance proposed on Gray Road 14. They've already obtained a permit, which aligns with the proposed graveled yard. They're still maintaining a tree screening as well for the proposed farmyard and the sap shanty from the roadway. So I kind of went over it a little bit. Comments are found on page 4 of staff's report. Township Public Works advised safe access and provided the road and entrance requirements are under Grey County jurisdiction as well. As mentioned, the new entrance has a permit. Historic Saugeen Métis had no concerns. And as stated earlier, Grey County had no concerns provided the septic tanks are located at least 23 meters from the center line, and that the Conservation Authority is satisfied with the findings of the submitted technical reports. And Saugeen Valley advised that the hazard lands and EP zone should be revised based on the recommendations and conclusions in the technical reports and the site conditions, and an SVCA permit will be required as well. So to summarize, the proposed rezoning is to verify the location of the EP zone on site and reduce the side yard and the front yard setbacks for the future agricultural use. That's subject to a constrained building envelope due to the natural features. But staff believe it complies with the township and county official plan policies. And the agricultural uses such as the proposed farmhouse, horse and buggy barns, sap shanty shed, and power room are permitted within the agricultural designation. And the impacts to these features are mitigated by proposed retaining walls as well to avoid increased fill in the wetland setback areas. So based on what we've outlined, staff recommend approval of the proposed rezoning. Happy to take any questions.
Very good. Thank you, Victoria. Are there any questions? Barb?
Thank you. And through you, Victoria, thank you very much. This has been before us before, and I appreciate that it's to rezone the property to mitigate the constrained building envelope, the reduced yard setbacks. The agricultural sap shed and a power room, is that considered on-farm agricultural related use?
Through you, this is something that we discussed with council back at public planning too. It's something that's an agricultural use under the A1 zoning, so it wouldn't be considered an OFDU.
So it is an on-farm agricultural related use. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, Martin?
I really don't know if this is pertinent or not, but looking at the site plan or attachment 1, it has a detail of the retaining wall, and it does say the retaining wall is done in such a way that it could support future buildings. That's a lot of retaining wall. Is like going with on-farm diversified uses. Would there be different setbacks in the future because of the size of buildings they could put on the walls there?
Through you, I don't think there is any plan to at this time. I'm not sure what they're referring to in the site plan. That's something I could clarify with the agent if council would like that. But it's been noted that it's to avoid increase in fill in the wetland, just to help support that. So I think in conjunction with the buildings that are proposed as well, I think it's to help mitigate that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Not seeing any further questions. I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Victoria. Moving on to legislative services, we have a couple of reports here. The first one is to review and proposed amendments of policy 86, which is the electronic participation in council and committees. Someone care to move that, please? Joan will move that. Martin will second. Madam Clerk, floor is yours.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Milne. So we were tasked with reviewing this policy through a notice motion that was passed towards the end of last year. So we reached out to our member municipalities and have had discussions with them. We felt that our policy has been functioning pretty well for us, but it's good to have an overall review. So we have included some amendments. They are in red on the bylaw there, but not a whole lot of changes. We aren't, recommending that there is a limit put on the amount of times that you can participate. We've just added some clarity around closed meeting just to maintain the confidentiality, and that's pretty much it. I can take questions. We didn't really change a whole lot. We do think that it's functioning pretty effectively, but happy to take any comments. We did leave it open that we would bring the bylaw to future meeting, I'm thinking.
Yep.
Yes.
That's what it says.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess I'll just take questions and comments at this point.
Very good. Thank you, Lindsay. Martin, you have a question?
Just a comment. I think it's, it was asked to be looked at and there weren't many changes. So you're right, Lindsay, it was working. And I think it all comes down to, I think you mentioned in part of the report or the attachments that, is in with guidelines of code of conduct. It's a meeting no matter what. So, if you're going to leave for half hour, that should already be in your, well, you should already know that. It's not like saying I'm going away for 5 minutes for a washroom break, coming back. Is there a timeline for that one red line that you added about how long you could be away from the screen?
So we didn't put a specific time to it. We just changed under in a closed meeting. If you're going to be away, then you leave because we can't tell if your camera's off. If you're away for a minute or two in the open meeting and you're going to be back, I think everyone can use their best judgment on that. Obviously, to me, if it's going to be more than, I don't know, 5 minutes or so, then leave. But I think most of the time we're pretty good and the chair recognizes that. But I think if your camera's off for, a minute or 2 minutes, that's okay.
Yep.
You just we need to just be able to make sure that for quorum purposes and for voting that we know you're there. So if you feel you're gonna be away from your chair for longer, then definitely leave the meeting and come back.
And give a message to you as
Yeah, I mean, we can see I think a lot of it too, we're very used to the electronic now. When it first came out, it was a lot more difficult technically, but now, you can come and go. We see you come and go. It's just a lot easier. It's kind of second nature to us now. And that's also why we didn't recommend any changes to the notice for members, letting us know we didn't see any change. We don't require a whole lot of notice. It's like I said, we're used to being able to kind of shift to that model pretty quickly. So yeah, I think everyone just needs to use their best judgment, and please leave your camera on. That shows the public that you're participating. It shows council you're participating. And if you have to step away for a minute, that's fine. But if it's longer than that, then please leave the meeting so we know.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Barb?
Thank you, and through you. Thank you for it's always healthy to do a review and comparing our municipality to others and their practices. I'm sure that they were interested in what we're doing. There are a couple of things in our procedural bylaw. When we first introduced electronic participation, it was consider this as if you were here in person.
Right.
If you were to get up and not be present for a vote, then you're counted as absent from that vote. If your camera's not on, you can't vote, then you counted as absent from the vote. The same as I think in our procedural bylaws, you must remain seated when the vote is called, or let's say you moved the motion and you turned your camera off. Technically, we'd have to get a new mover and seconder. So it's treating participation virtually as if you were in the room and following the same guidelines. The one thing that I do have a concern about is not having a requirement that you should not be actively driving while participating in a meeting. That's distracted driving. And I agree that you could be a passenger in a vehicle, as you're not making the decisions. You are somewhat stable, you're focused on the meeting. But I do have a concern that not prohibiting participation while actually driving. You want to pull over in a vehicle at the side of the road and participate at that time, or as a passenger, great. Because, you know, you have to be at another meeting, you have to leave, but you're still part of the meeting and you're still counting as quorum. I would hate for someone to get a ticket or into an accident because they were distracted by trying to press the unmute button or the raise hand feature or all of that. So that's my only concern.
Madam Clerk.
And yes, I understand that. I think sometimes most of the time, I think people would pull over, or, if it's a passenger, then that's great. I think you're right. That would be technically distracted driving. The Highway Traffic Act would supersede any policy that we would have. So I think that onus is on the person participating, whether they feel they want to participate. My recommendation is to not change any, like, other than what we've put in there, but we can take comments and amendments as well. I think that the onus is on the person, how they wish to participate.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Moving on to the next report from the Clerk's Department is the Grey County Joint Compliance Audit Committee report. Someone care to move that, please? Joan will move. Monica will second. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Milne. So this is a requirement of the Municipal Elections Act. So this is a compliance audit committee that kind of comes into play after the election is over. And should there be a question of campaign finances, then this committee would work through those. So it is a requirement. We've done this as a joint initiative with all the other lower tiers in the county this will be our third election cycle, and it works really well. So the county kind of helps us out with advertising and that sort of thing, and kind of working through the meetings, and we all kind of help each other. So it makes it a lot easier than trying to find, what would it be, 9 different compliance audit committees. So yeah, this is just approval of the terms of reference, and we'll be advertising very shortly for the seats.
Very good. Thank you, Lindsay. Any questions from council? Not seeing any. I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. I believe we have one more here from the clerk. Popular department this week. This report is regarding the use of the corporate logo and the adjoining policy. Someone care to move this, please? Jason and Jim, thank you. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Milne. This one, we actually kind of noticed it through a few different things. One, when we were looking at our use of corporate resources for the election, we just kind of realized that we didn't have anything kind of specific about the use of the township logo and the fire department logo. So we put together this policy. It's pretty straightforward. Essentially limits the use of just to corporate activities only. And those general provisions that are outlined in section 5 of the policy. And again, it's pretty simple, but we just wanted to have something should someone request use that doesn't really line up with any of our normal functions. We just kind of wanted to have a policy to.
Okay, very good. Any questions? Martin.
And this obviously ties into the elections.
Well, so no, there
No?
will, I mean, essentially, but there will be the use of corporate resources during an election policy. It's going to come forward likely at the next meeting or the one after that, just with a couple of amendments that we're proposing, but that is still a separate policy. We just kind of, when we were working through that, and another request came up too, that we realized we didn't have a policy in place, so.
Yeah, that was always stated that you couldn't use it if you were running as a candidate or re-election. So it
Yeah,
wasn't the
that's all
policy, and then we're having another policy.
So there'll still be the use of corporate resources during an election policy coming forward, yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Barb?
Excuse me. Thank you. And I totally get the reason we want to it is, it's an asset. It's our legal identity. With regard, I did note in the report, sorry, that it doesn't prohibit organizations that are partnering with the township or the township is sponsoring from using the logo. It's just, someone going into the website, copying the logo and plunking it on letterhead, or it just protects us
Yeah,
one
exactly.
step further.
Yeah, we don't want to limit anyone that we're working with, of course, that's approved that way, not at all. It's just more individuals or just random things that we haven't supported or aren't involved in and that it'd be misused, yeah.
Okay, any further questions, comments? Not seeing any, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Lindsay. Is there any notice of motion? Nope, not seeing any. Consent agenda. Be it resolved that council received the consent agenda dated March 4th, 2026. Save and accept items. Barb.
11.2, Strong Mare Powers, 11.6, Southgate Renewables, and 11.7, the Blue Water District School Board correspondence to the Ombudsman.
Okay, anyone else have any others they wish to remove for further discussion or direction? Okay, so it will, the motion will include all the items there, except for 11.2, 11.6, and 11.7. Someone care to move that, please? Martin will move that. Jim will second it. All those in favor? That is carried. Okay, 11.2, Barb, you want to do something with that one? Sorry. Get to that.
I have no revised amendment other than to receive for information, but I did want to have the opportunity for the clerk to speak to this. It just strikes me as so undemocratic that we can go through a process of working together, our mayor working with staff, working with council, working with the public to arrive at a reasonable budget, and the Strong Mare power as thrown at us, basically, allows for a mayor to just change the levy at any point in time. And the process by which it goes through amendments and veto power and this day and that day doesn't sound very efficient anyway, nor does it advance housing. So I needed to say that out loud because it just doesn't make any sense in advancing provincial priorities. So
yes,
I'll wave to the clerk, or the mayor.
So, no, so you're moving that we receive for information. Okay, is there a seconder for that first before we go any further? Martin will second. Madam Clerk, do you want
yeah.
to chime in, please?
Through you. And I just want to preface by saying I did not write the report assuming that the mayor would be using any of these powers, but just wanted to give context and the process because, we are under this framework now, so we kind of have to live in it. But yeah, I share your opinion about it not relating to housing initiatives and such, but I tried to make sense of the timing and the milestones. Should there be something, I'm sure the mayor will comment, but I really doubt there's going to be anything, but I'll let Mayor Milne comment if he'd like.
Well, thank you, but I have no intention of doing anything of that nature. I think we had a really good process this year, given what we had to work with in terms of legislation from the province. But I think as a council and as staff, I think we did a good job, and our team come out with a good budget for the year. And I have no interest in changing that midway through the season, for sure. So that said, the motion is to receive. Any further questions, comments? I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Moving on to 11.6.
Again, I would move that we receive it for information so that this allows staff the opportunity to elaborate on what this means for Southgate, whether there's benefit, and what the next steps will be as far as our ECA.
Okay. The motion has been to receive. Is there a seconder? Jim will second. Ken, do you want to comment?
Yes. Thank you, Your Worship, and good morning, Council. The notice that was received as part of the process for Southgate Renewables to update their specific ECA based on further refining of their project. This is also part of a site plan amendment that they have submitted and is in progress and circulation. At this point, the comment period for the ECA update for Southgate Renewables has closed. It's a bit premature for us to be saying to what extent there would be benefit or costs because those still haven't been fully detailed or finalized. So that is still in progress. But at this point, the site plan amendment is progressing. The ECA amendment on behalf of Southgate Renewables is with the province and progressing, and our update to our ECA is being worked on by our consultants at Triton, and that is also in progress.
Okay, thank you. Barb?
Thank you, Ken. And this was something that was always hoped for when Southgate Renewables were entertaining the development and the contract with Enbridge Gas, and perhaps the ability for us to benefit from a lagoon standpoint. The fact that they are now proceeding with the ECA to use lagoon, I believe it's water, will only help us in the long run. Looking at any one of the.
Jim?
Yeah, so I guess there's a couple pieces to this. The Southgate Renewables ECA for their system has a clause in it saying that they can explore and look into using the waters from the lagoons. So the process on their side is kind of looped in, but our side, the ECA amendment has to go through our side for the actual details of what's on the lagoon properties as far as pumps, pipes, all that infrastructure. We're working through that, as Ken mentioned. There will be some benefit in a high level cost analysis of operations and not treating those effluent waters at the final end, and also maybe benefit with whenever we get into this season, like coming right now with the lagoons being fairly full and iced over and the melt coming, and being able to get rid of some water quickly and not put it out to the receiving stream. So there is benefit to us, but again, this is not at that stage that we can bring all those details to council at this point.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Any other questions? Not seeing any, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Moving on to 11.7, which is regarding the ombudsman's review of the proposal to remove trustees from elected office, or however you want to phrase it. Barb?
Thank you. I do have a resolution to support the Blue Water District School Board letter to the Ombudsman, and Holly has it prepared for the screen. If you do wish me to read it, because it's basically an extract of various sections of the letter, but in a more municipal resolution context. And the resolution looking for a seconder would be to receive for information, and whereas the Minister of Education has stated the intention to remove the role of democratically elected English public school trustees, and whereas there has been no formal public consultation to date, nor any fulsome and inclusive discussion that considers the viewpoints of students, families, school boards, staff, partners, and others bearing the impact of such a sweeping structural shift. And whereas eliminating the local voices and decision-making powers of public school trustees creates an uneven playing field rooted in unfairness and inequity for students, will result in the loss of Indigenous representation where it currently exists, and would have a detrimental impact on the student voices in the affected boards. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Southgate support the letter to the Ombudsman Paul Dubé by the Blue Water District School Board, urging him to prioritize a formal review of the impacts of removing English Ontario public school trustees and ensure that any new government initiated rollouts are measured, evidence-based, and truly reflective of the best interests of our students. Let it further be resolved that the resolution and the correspondence from the Blue Water District School Board include copies to, and they are listed below.
Okay, is there a seconder of that? Martin will second that. Any discussion, questions? Martin?
I thank Barb for bringing this forward and for Holly to make the notice. I was going to pull it because of the very fact that when this is changed, they will be politically appointed. And God knows what that'll mean. They're not elected by the local people. And that was the hinge pin why I said I'd agree with it. Goodness knows I had enough trouble with Blue Waters District School Board when the children were in school, but it was good to have that I could go over and above, and I see Taylor laughing there, but I could go over and above when there was trouble. And it was a local representative who I knew face to face. And I think if we lose that, especially with the children, not saying that all children are bad, but things that are going on in the schools now, they need that public representation, not some suit down in Toronto, quite correct. And I'm going to say this, and for them to point at like Toronto School Board and the other big boards where there is misappropriation of funds, where there are investments in artwork and there's stuff, people going over to trips that they seem non-necessary. I thought, well, isn't that the pot calling the kettle black as far as the government goes? So anyway, I totally support this and I think it's worthwhile.
Okay, thank you, Martin. Barb?
Just one final comment, I suppose, is that rules are generally, or decisions by the province are sweeping to address bad actors. Instead of dealing with the bad actors and painting everyone with the same brush. Rural Ontario is very different from our urban centers, the city of Toronto, Mississauga, Brampton, all of the large urban centers. And it's important to have those elected representatives have the best interests of our region at heart. So, you know, I'm always saying, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, address the issue and create rules or stronger guideposts that prevent it from happening in the future. Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Barb. Okay, general announcements. Anybody got anything they wish to share with the group? Not today. Okay, move on to bylaws. There are 4 bylaws there to be considered. Does anybody wish any of them to be removed for further discussion or direction? Okay, so the motion will be resolved that the following bylaws dated March 4th be read first, second, and third time, finally passed, signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed of the corporation, and entered into the bylaw book. Someone care to move that, please? Jason will move that. Martin will second. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. We do have a closed meeting today. I'll read the resolution. Be it resolved that council proceed into closed session at 11:27 in order to address matters relating to litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, specifically potential litigation, or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, specifically again, litigation update and a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, specifically acquisition of land update, and that all those required remain in attendance. So there are three topics to discuss. Someone move that, please. Jim and Barb will second. All those in favor? That is carried. We shall proceed into closed session. Okay, we are back in open session. And I can confirm that we only discussed those items that were on the closed meeting agenda. We have a confirming bylaw. Someone, Jim, seconded by Martin. Thank you. All those in favor? That is carried. We have one further motion to adjourn. Jim will move. Monica will second. All those in favor? We're adjourned.